lot of people, while they build success, they're driven by this idea of the accomplishment. Man, I can't wait until I get like whatever, the $1 million and I get the check, or I have the massive whatever it is. I didn't see a company that embodied the culture. All the companies that were in Latin music were just really focused on give me my money, let me get my money. Nobody had this idea of like, let's do things just for the sake of building the brand value of Latin music. So I created Neon 16. So it's always been driven by like these, I see an issue or I see a problem and I get the OCD to solve it, and then I get a clear vision.
So what was your process in terms of putting them in the right position to carry your vision and getting them to buy into what was clearly yours? It's not easy to get people to buy into something that is on your heart and in your head and in your mind, and you know what I mean?
I think the biggest thing that I realized is in order to align people, you have to understand their need. People want to follow someone who's pushing themselves and who's leading by example. And so I'll be the same guy that's like sitting in the nice office, but I'll also be the guy painting the wall. I was literally texting my father and I was like, could you believe I'm watching Bad Boys with Will Smith? And he just acted in front of me.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. I've made it.
I've made it.
I'm Manning Sumner. I've lived my life by one motto: no days off. No days off is never taking a day off on you. It's a commitment to becoming your best self. Get ready to be inspired to do the same. This is the Big Dawgs with Manning Sumner.
Show the muscles.
What watch you wearing today?
Got an AP Perpetual Skeleton.
That thing is sick.
Dude, this was my dream watch.
Wow.
Like, because this is the watch that Kanye and Pharrell wore, like, when we were growing up. Like, this is the watch, right? So if there was one watch, I was like, I gotta get it. And I finally got it. And, you know, I wore this thing so much that I beat like, it has so many scratches, but that's kind of like, I'll never sell this.
But I feel like that's, like, what makes it,
that's
like,
the story.
You know what I mean?
For
it's
sure.
like, because it's your watch.
Exactly.
Like, of course it's like cars, you know, when you take them out and you get that first like little nick and you're like, you know, and when you have kids, like I just got the new Shelby R Raptor, and there's like, they only made 40 of them. And my son was eating a cookie the other day in the back seat and he like, you know, spilt it. And I was just like, but then at the same time I was like,
that's kind of
it is what it is. It's like dad life. You just learn to like, you're like, I feel like being a parent, like it gives you so much more patience.
Oh, it does. Because you realize there's nothing you're going to be able to do. Like my place is spot clean. I have things that are white and these like very expensive rugs and things. You think my daughter cares? The other day I'm walking, I'm like, is that Cheeto hands on my God? And then I was like, you know what? It's okay.
Do you come from a background of being OCD? Are we live? All right, good. I normally just like go and we'll do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we're just picking up where we left off.
Yeah, no, 100%.
I was telling my wife on the way over here, I was like, we did a podcast after the podcast, and this is another podcast. Like, you know,
so we're doing a whole lot of.
So
podcasts.
it's like we just be talking. We should have just kept the cameras rolling. But do you find like your personality is it OCD a little bit?
100%.
So it's interesting because I was the same way until I met my wife. And I met my wife and she's completely opposite. And so it forced me. It was like, if you really want to be with this woman, then you're going to have to chill out. And then what's cool about it though is that it prepared me for kids. Because it's damn near impossible to be OCD with kids.
It is.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I realized, like, my daughter was really what changed that. Because, dude, I was the type of guy, I come from the club and I don't drink anymore, but when I used to drink, I would come wasted, start fixing my library. That's how I would sober up. I'd be like, moving things.
The very first time I got high, I cleaned my college, everything like I'm talking like organized. My closet was color coordinated, and then everybody was like, you know, what'd you do when you got out? And I was like, I cleaned. Like, I was like, that's what I did.
That's me every day. Like, and but you know what? It's almost organized chaos in my brain. I think that's part of my key to success and my gift is that I need to feel like there's a lot going on. And even creatively, if you come to my office, well, you were there, like I have a lot of things, like, right? But it's that creative, like looking into that says, okay, here's these colors, here's these things. And my brain being challenged by so much, or like but in an organized way, so I can fragment my conversations, my business, and still get to execute and be super OCD about it while being kind of messy in somebody else's. Like my assistants say I'm an organized hoarder because I collect a lot of things. So it's like, you know, I'll collect toys and I'll collect cars and I'll collect watches and I'll collect sneakers. And it's like at some point I'm like, damn, I got a lot of stuff. But it's part of like that creative process that just inspires me. And then my brain finds a way to organize it. So even in my house, I have a way to like, here are all the art toys and here are all the coffee table books and here. And it's just, it's literally, my brain goes through this motion all the time. And then at some point I'll be like, I got tired of this, clear everything and then go something new, you know? But I do that all the time. Like if you see me staring at something, like I stared at your wall and I saw it from down there and I'm like, I kind of want a wall like that with all the jerseys I got. Now I'm going to go home and OCD about getting the wall done.
Well, what inspired me about this, and I had this at my other gym, but a really close friend of mine, Gunnar Peterson, he's a like world-renowned trainer to the stars. Trained Sylvester Stallone, the Kardashians, you know, he's very well known, and worked with Kobe Bryant. And when you used to go to his gym, and I think he did it in Nashville, he used to have a gym in Beverly Hills, and the entire ceiling was jerseys. Oh, it was sick. The dopest thing I've ever seen. Sick. And I didn't want to copy him, so I was like, well, let me do a version of my version of that. And then what's really funny too is that, and Alex will tell you, is that not everybody made the wall. You know, like I trained thousands of athletes, and it's interesting that like I've been given certain jerseys that you know I was like, you didn't make the wall.
So what qualifies you to make the wall?
It goes way beyond their career. It's a personal, like what happened to us personally, and like how they treated me, how we grew together, current relationship, if there is even one, which all these guys I pretty much have a great relationship with. But it went beyond sports and went beyond training. And it was something that like left a mark on my life too. So it reminds me, because I don't train professional athlete. Well, I mean, I came out of retirement recently, but I don't do it like, you know, like I used to do it, where it was 16-hour days of doing it. And so it's nice to have a reminder. It takes you back to like where you started, you know, and like how I ended up with this is literally the training. I mean, there was times I trained from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. without a break, you know, like just nonstop.
That's
like,
nuts.
Athlete after athlete. And then, you know, you throw in a nurse or a doctor or the student, like you throw in regular people in there too. So it was crazy.
I mean, look at this though. Holy.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I told somebody, in the sauna this morning that this was in my head in 2017. So I like saw this way before it actually happened. And I think that's why, like, you know, people don't really like every time someone gave me flowers for making an achievement, on the inside I was like, haven't really made what, you know, and I'm still that way. Like I'm still like, you know, well, and let's talk about that a little bit, because we kind of got into it a little bit when I was on your podcast, but like, I kind of want to take it back to when you were in that place. Cause I feel like you're way further than I am in my career. But like, take me back to when you were in it and you were building. And I would love to hear, cause you strike me as someone that is extremely team oriented and pouring into other people, but still remaining the visionary and the one on top. So explain to me your process of like how you did that and ended up to where you are today.
You know, it's crazy because a lot of people, while they build success, they think of, you know, or they're driven by this idea of the accomplishment, right? Like, man, I can't wait until I get like whatever, the $1 million and I get the check, or I have the massive, whatever it is. And for me at the beginning, it was driven by just people. Like I had this necessity, the OCD of like seeing a problem and being like, okay, how do I solve it? How do I put my creativity to solve this issue? So when I first started, and I got the music bug, I was growing up in church. I was a pastor's kid. My mom's a pastor, and I was studying theology, and I was, you know, I got ordained to be a youth pastor. And I would go to school and listen to hip hop, but then I would come into youth group, right? And we were having conversations about Christian hip hop and Christian rap and, Christian rock. And then when I would compare the music, I'd just be like, man, why is this so like behind? The beats are so like thinned out and the sounds sound weak. And then like the song is super repetitive. It doesn't use any of like the other things that are going on in hip hop. Like they're not taking inspiration from it. And I just saw like a problem. I said, I think if you can take the idea and the creative behind what makes hip hop, secular hip hop, so good and implement it into just having positive music, you can not only give a blessing to the community, but you can actually grow and become a major superstar. Mm-hmm. And that became my mission. I created a company called Crossover Entertainment because it was like my idea to cross it over. Now, when I started, I called every Christian rapper in Miami and I had a meeting in my house, my mom's house, by the way, because I was a kid.
Well, by the way, how many Christian rappers were in Miami? More than you realize?
There'd be like 20.
Yeah?
There was like a little movement here going on.
Okay. What year was this?
This might have been like 2000, I don't know, maybe 2004, 2003. And I had a whole meeting and I had a plan. I had a whole presentation. I put it on a board and I said, here's how we're going to do this. This is the things that are wrong. Here's the things we're going to fix. And I would love to have all you guys, like we should do a project together so the community gets all together. Everybody ate the food. I had my mom order food. Like, yeah, I thought I was, I was legit.
Yeah.
Everybody left. Like, no, like low-key, I felt like they probably laughed. But two guys, this guy named Prophecy and this guy named Blessed stayed. And they're like, that sounds interesting. Like, what do you have in mind? And I was like, well, we got to figure out a studio.
I love the names that stayed though.
Oh yeah, right.
I mean,
Prophecy and Blessed.
Like,
now that no, it's crazy. And I told him, I said, look, we should get this going. And Prophecy said, well, look, I have an extra room in my apartment. I said, great. So I went and I like had Fruity Loops and I downloaded this other program and we went to Home Depot and we built with wood our own little booth as ghetto as ghetto can be. It. And I just downloaded from LimeWire like all the hottest beats at that time. And I just started writing the rhymes with him, right? And so we did this whole little mixtape and we sold it at churches and all this stuff. And then like the momentum we got was like real and we got called from this Christian label and they left and signed with the Christian label and like left me hanging. Oh my God. It's funny because I saw Prophecy maybe 6 months ago when I started the podcast because I did this kind of artist invitational, and he came in and he was like, "Man, I'm so sorry. Like, you were totally right and everything." And I interviewed Lecrae in the podcast, and I was telling Lecrae, I'm like, I remember being on the phone with you guys and saying, "Hey, like, I have this idea," and you and the Truth telling me like, we can't work with secular producers, so we can't work with you. And I was like, it's crazy to see the growth and the development, right, of what happened. But that's really what drove my passion across the board there. And then that became like, oh, there's no producer managers. Let me start managing producers and kind of create that going. And then even when I came to Miami and I saw Latin music, I didn't see a company that embodied the culture. Like, and I knew that if Latin music would grow again, corporate America, like they always do, anything that's hot culturally, they want to attach themselves to, right? But there was no rock nation of Latin, and all the companies that were in Latin music were just really focused on give me my money, let me get my money. Nobody had this idea of like, let's do things just for the sake of building the brand value of Latin music. So I created Neon 16. So it's always been driven by like these, I see an issue or I see a problem and I get the OCD to solve it, and then I get a clear vision. Like I get this tunnel vision where I just see it. I see the chess pieces, and that's really been the key, or one of the keys to my success. Is just really when I see the vision, I see it clearly because I see the problem. I see the chess pieces moving in my head, and then the outcome of it, because it was never driven by it until recently. I just never actually enjoyed the outcome because it was just never the reason why I did it. So like I would get the award or get the money and stuff. And yeah, I would live it and it felt good. but it wasn't something that I like sat and appreciated. I didn't even celebrate it, right? Like my first awards or everything, I was like, cool, yeah, like you know, it's like I was more worried. I was more like passionate about seeing the artist reach his dream, or seeing the problem being solved and being like, wow, we solved the issue. Not because Neon did this, all of a sudden all the artists started following, and the aesthetic, and people started looking at American culture and saying, and other companies copied kind of our idea of it, which is great, and started replicating the brand concept idea into the way they were building their company. So yeah, that's kind of been the driving force behind it. But it's all back to that OCD of like, I got to solve it.
But when it's your vision, because that's something that I have to deal with now, is like, you know, it's our vision, right? It's in our head. And when you have people that have to carry the vision, because you can't do it by yourself, right? And you've mentioned that like your partners have been very vital to your growth. So what was your process in terms of putting them in the right position to carry your vision and getting them to buy into what was clearly yours? You know what I mean? Because that's not easy. It's not easy to get people to buy into something that is on your heart and in your head and in your mind, and you know what I mean?
I think the biggest thing that I realized is, in order to align people, you have to understand their need, right? And so we were talking about this in the podcast, which is society historically feeds us the information that as humans, there's something missing, right? So because if they tell you that there's something missing and I give you what you're missing, I have control over you, whether that's I have control over how you know, what you buy into, because if I think, hey, you know, if you want hair, here's a hair product, right? Or in the case of a dictator, you know, in the case of Hitler, it was, hey, Germany's destroyed, but we can go back into it. So that needing of it. And it's an interesting way of looking at leadership, but it's how you look at leadership, right? So whenever I entered, whether it's been my business or in this case where I've worked at, you know, Rock or Universal, when I've entered a company and I've seen like, okay, I'll give you an example, Universal Canada. They were a company that were essentially a marketing hub that supported the 5 American labels signed in Universal: Republic, Island, Interscope, etc. So they would market American product in Canada, and they would sign some Canadian things, but for the most part, their bottom line was covered by that. But what started to happen when I got there is the Canadian music started to blow up, right? You had Shawn Mendes, Alessia Cara, you had The Weeknd, you had all these Canadian artists that were from the area where the office was. And then the pressure started coming. It's like, why is us as Canadians, we can't even sign our own artists? They all go to the US. And when I walked into the building and I was given the responsibility to turn this company around, I realized that the main thing is they don't understand how to win, because the team and the morale of the team was always based on just like, you're safe, buddy. You're making money no matter what. Do your job halfway. So when I started to walk in and let go of people to try to change, at first I was the most hated person. The HR, the person in charge of HR would always come into my office and say, how's the most hated person in this office doing today?
Really?
Because it was a company where most people had been there 15, 20 years.
Okay.
Right?
They were comfortable.
They were comfortable.
Yep.
They were older. And here comes an American. Imagine that to a Canadian. Like the stigma's there. Yeah. An American 30-year-old to tell them how to do things. Yeah. And I am the kind of person that's like, oh no, we're changing. Like, I'm not like a soft, like no. I'm like,
you don't sugarcoat.
I don't sugarcoat it. I'm super black and white with that. So in coming in, at first, it was turmoil. There was people like, oh, and then they started to realize, as we started to win, as we started to sign artists, as I started to do deals with Timbaland and other things and change the way that the office dynamic worked, the morale was, people wanted to win. They wanted to feel proud about their job. Nobody entered the music industry to sit in an office doing nothing.
Right.
You entered because you wanted to be like, oh, I met Manning where he was nobody and like he's a world superstar and I was a part of that. That's the feeling. So I understood, if I can get that feeling out of people, they will get behind the vision and everybody will give their best job. So I made that the main goal. I changed the way we communicated as a group. and said, everybody here now has a role in getting us here. I can't do this alone, but in order to get here, I need to understand what your strength is and what your weakness is. And I need you just to focus on your strength. Mm-hmm. Like, don't try to overcompensate for your weakness. And in doing that, I started to say, okay, here's the best people in marketing. There was people the person that was leading marketing, I moved them to publicity because they were not actually good at marketing.
Right.
And so I started to maneuver and essentially we reached our goal and everybody was super happy and then I left. But but it was like the question of it. So I say a lot of my kind of role in leadership is always just trying to understand that, like, what do people want out of this opportunity? Because it takes the same amount of effort to do something you love or do something you hate, and the same amount of percentage of chances of winning. So if I can maneuver people into a position of doing something they love to do, and then also allow them to sit in there when they're uncomfortable. Because a lot of people too, is like you put them to do what they want, but they just want everything flowers, and especially this generation nowadays, they want everything, in beautiful. It's like, no, you're gonna sit in the uncomfortableness of that, but this is what you want, right? Okay, here's how you're gonna do it. And I would say the biggest mistake I've made as a leader sometimes has been just hiring people with a lot of potential, but with a huge learning curve. Okay. And no, you could do that and bet on one person, but when it's a large part of your organization, it starts creating a high level of wasting money, a high level of time, and you end up having to do everyone's job because you're mentoring. Right.
Them. You're like micromanaging.
Yeah, you're micromanaging, right? So, but yeah, I would say those two things were kind of pivotal in my leadership and getting a team to rile up behind. And then people like to do cool stuff. People want to follow someone who's pushing themselves and who's leading by example. And so I'll be the same guy that's like sitting in the nice office, but I'll also be the guy painting the wall. Like in our office that you went to when we were like putting it, I was there painting. I was like hammering things and putting it because I genuinely enjoy it. But for people, it was like, what the heck? Yeah. Why is Lex doing this?
Yeah. But there's something about that. Like when people see you doing what you're asking them to do, like if they see you and you're willing to do the same thing that you're asking them of, what are they going to say? Like, so I like that a lot. So when Neon 16 came to life, where did Neon 16 come from?
So I was working with Tiny, who, had asked me if I could help with his career. And we were thinking, at the time I was working at Rock. So I was at Rock Nation. And we were thinking about starting a company.
This is after Canada?
This is after Canada. Okay. So after Canada, I come to Miami. My health gives in and I come here to kind of recover. I was not planning to get back into music, but I was dating a girl and she was a Latin songwriter. And even though I told her to not talk to me about music, she did the complete opposite and said, oh, but look at this song, but hear this record. And I was like, oh God. But one day she wrote a record I liked and I said, okay, I'm going to do one thing for you. I know a friend of mine who works at Sony, Latin. I'm going to go see him. I'll play your music. If he likes it, good. I'll connect you guys. You guys can do it. Please, after that, just, respect my decision.
Yeah, leave me alone.
I don't want to be in music. Well, when I went there, I played the music for this A&R. The A&R literally told me, it's good, but, she's a female writer, and we don't really think female writers get it.
That's wild.
I said, excuse me? He said, yeah. I'm like, okay. So I left the meeting. I called her on the phone. And I said, the best thing just happened. The guy said that girls can't write, and now I have a mission to prove him wrong. So you got yourself a manager.
Oh, I love it.
And I was like, okay.
And does that fuel you, like those moments?
100%.
Like as soon as you hear 100%. Some ridiculous comment, because that is an absurd comment to make. Like it's absurd.
100%. You want to fuel me, tell me something can be done.
Yeah.
And
that's how I am too.
That's
please tell me something.
Just please.
Do it.
You tell me like, oh, somebody did it. Okay, cool, bro. I don't care. I don't feel the dead. Yeah. Tell me something can be done. And it's like, woof, the full drive goes on. And the full drive went on and I started to problem solve. I started to see the chess pieces and I started to, figure out how I was going to get the biggest songwriters in Latin to want to work with a brand new writer. And I quickly realized that Sony was not going to help. The Latin managers were not going to help because there was just a stigma. It is what it is, And the truth is songwriter producers at that time were not being respected the way they're respected today. And I think we had a huge part in changing that. But I knew that any Latin writer would want to work with American producers because everybody wants to work with American artists. So I called Danger Hands and I told Danger, I said, hey man, I know you had a studio in Hollywood. Would you be interested in doing a Latin camp? And he's like, what do you have in mind? I said, bro, Latin music is super hot. You could be the first hip hop producer to get into it. He's like, oh, okay. I did it. And then I called all the publishers and I said, hey, I got this. I got Danger Hands. Can you send me boom, boom, boom? Like I went down the list of all the top ones that this girl was obsessing with.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting all of them. And Sony got super pissed and all this thing because they had this Sony Secret Sessions things. But long story short, she ended up going on to write massive hits. Like she wrote the breakout hit for Caliucci, Telepatia, and she wrote a bunch of other records. And through that process, all of a sudden, I was in Latin music. Rock Nation at the time asked me to come be the EVP and help run the music company. And then Romeo Santos leaves Rock Nation and I'm stuck with Rock Nation Latin. And they were like, you're Latin, here you go. And I was like, But in that process, I ended up meeting Tiny. And when I met Tiny and I went to Puerto Rico with him, I started to see what was happening. Then I had a call with Balvin and I saw that Balvin had the understanding of culture. He understood actually we went to your gym the first time together, me and Balvin. But he understood the way that we as American consumers consume music and why we consume it and why we follow hip hop. And I was like, if this guy gets it this way and he continues to grow, all it's going to take is someone with more urban credibility, because he was a little pop leaning, to come behind and this thing is a game over. And that just clicked. And so I was in Tokyo with Tiny and I said, I think I'm going to leave my job and we should start a company. And I always like to do things with numbers because it poses the question, why a number? So my company before that was called 1916, because September 1st, 1916 is the year Rockefeller became the world's first billionaire. But I made hats and everybody in LA was wearing hats. And there's this funny picture of Justin Bieber with Scooter wearing a hat of my management company, not knowing what it was, right? But it was the concept of it. So 16 is the year both he and I started in the music business. We started when we were 16 years old. And then Neon was because of Tokyo, the neon signs in Tokyo. So we put Neon 16 together, and that's where that
And did you come up with that in Tokyo?
Yeah, in Tokyo.
I love it. Yeah. That's awesome. That's
and
so cool.
From Tokyo, I called my real estate agent, and I had her find us a house. And she showed me the video, and I visualized how the rooms were separated, how we were going to use it as studios and offices. And I rented it from Tokyo. And then we came here and we're like, well, we're going to start a company. We have no money. So I put my salary and everything and I quit. I literally quit while I was in Tokyo, which was, scary, but especially as I was getting paid a buckload of money. Yeah. But it all worked out.
Look at you now.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that gives me the I don't know, it's like when you sacrifice success where you are to get a success that you want for yourself, not what everybody else says is success, and you're like willing to sacrifice that and bet it all on you. I think there's something to be said about that. Like that to me is like what makes you. Yeah. Like I had a comfortable situation and I gave it up, all of it, the guaranteed money to go pursue what I wanted for me, so I love that.
It's the thing, and we were having this conversation when we did our podcast, but it's interesting because I've been able to always do that as long as the reason is external, right? So like I knew I wanted to build and fix this thing in Latin music, and I knew I wanted to help Tiny become a world superstar. I knew that I wanted to change the way Latin music or this particular A&Rs were looking, because it was not all Latin music, was looking at this female writer, but I was doing it for the benefit of the female writer more than my benefit. Mm-hmm. So anytime that has been attached to the external person, I've been super like quick, like literally don't think about it. I'm driving, I'm going, I see it clearly. But it's been probably, well, it's been 23 years of my career since I started as a producer to coming now where I sit today, where I can say, for the first time in my life, I'm doing something for actually just myself, where I said, I generally want to speak about this internal work. I'm going to go do this podcast. I'm going to not be, oh, that's Lex, the manager of so-and-so, or you know, the CEO, but no, I'm just Lex.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, I'm Alejandro. How about that?
Yeah.
So
I was just about to say that.
You know, I'm going to go do these things that are passionate to myself, and I'm going to risk myself. So I'm going to go talk about watches and start a whole channel about watches and be funny because I actually just love watches.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm going to start a coffee shop because like those kind of things that I had never done in my entire career and life, I'm literally, for the first time, going out on that limb of like, okay, I'm doing this, you know?
Do you think it's though because you did give so much?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As when you're giving and you're pouring into other people, I mean, I feel like it actually was working internally on you. It just, at the time, your gift was for them at the time. It's like, because to me, like timing in life is
everything.
Is everything. Like, I don't think that, like maybe you wouldn't be where you are today if you would have made it about you then. You know what I mean? So
I think it's a mixture of learning through process and timing and fear. You know, I genuinely knew I had this fear, right? Like I remember candidly like the moment of making the decision of stepping from the limelight to put someone else, because it was the moment that I realized I had something to lose, right? It's like I started as a producer. I started being the artist and I started to open doors and have success as that. And then I panicked. I was like, oh, wait, like this, doing this, you get criticism, you get this. And then what if I make one mistake and I don't feel really good about myself and I don't feel like I'm enough? So no, let me bet on somebody else, because if they mess up, I can blame them. It's not me. And I remember.
Do you remember that was really your motivation?
I remember making the shift of saying like, you know, like I'm going to step and I'm going to help this, which was always my foundation was always helping people.
Yeah.
But the transition of like, I'm going to put out, and I think historically, actually with all my clients and in, I would say most of my job positions, what the rift started to happen at some point was the star in me started to fight the transition. So, you know, most clients who are stars want their managers to sit in the back. And my personality trait is I walk in a room and I'm owning that room.
Right.
And that doesn't always go hand in hand. And so it can shock a client to feel like, wow, my more people ask my manager to get interviewed than me. Like, why is that? Like, you know, and so I saw that creating, even in ultimately in some of the corporate jobs I took, which is two, I think some of the bigger griefs was like, I can get a lot more done than the person that was in charge of me, or was my boss, or was whoever. And that for a lot of people just was like, whoa, you know, it scares them because of that. And it was, I saw it throughout all the years, but I always wonder, I was like, it gotta be everybody else. Why everybody feeling like this? But I never recognized like, hey, no, like there's some sign that life is trying to show you this, because this is consistently happening, that there's this thing inside of you that wants to come out and you have it locked in. And so as I'm noticing even now, like the letting go of that, and every time historically in my career that I let go of that for a moment, like there was this big blessing that happened, or this big moment. And then I would be like doing the show on Netflix, right? Like that was the perfect example. I created a TV show, music competition show, had these 4 major superstars, was not planning to be on the show. Netflix decides that the 4 judges are too nice and they want me on the show. Now, I come on, become the star of the show. So I was just in Ibiza 2 days ago, and a 45-year-old British guy with his wife in the middle of the club go, we've been trying to figure out where we know you from. We finally hit it. We love your show on Netflix. Can we take a picture? And I was like, wow. But while I was sitting in that seat doing it, and while it was happening after when it was released, I was fighting all these internal, you know, like conflicts, because it was literally sitting in my fear and And at that time, it was so much so that I didn't do season 2. I was like, no, I'm good, you know? But the blessing happened. That was the universe again showing me. So the intuition of that now has come to the forefront of my consciousness to where I'm like, okay, I'm full force with this. But it's the first time in my whole life and career that I'm doing this. So I'm sitting here with you. So I'm like, you know, but I love it because now I'm feeling what I would push my clients to for myself.
Yeah.
And it feels like rewarding and also this kind of release of this energy that I think I was born with.
How did Will Smith come about?
Bro, life be life, you know? So I don't think I've ever shared this story publicly, but Miguel, Will's longtime manager, happened to be in Miami. Actually, I'll back up. We launched our film and television production company. As part of that, our agent CA set us with a bunch of meetings with every production company in town. One of those companies was Westbrook. Westbrook, the head of content at Westbrook, this guy named Lucas, he pitched me a couple of ideas. We worked on a couple of things. Like 2 months later, he texts me, hey, can I connect you to Will's manager? He's going to be in Miami. He's also Latin. He would love to meet you. So he connected me with Miguel. Miguel's like, oh, bro, I've heard so much about you. I can't believe we haven't connected. And Miguel ended up coming to the office the day of my daughter's birthday. So I told him, I got 30 minutes, brother. And we started talking, and it started from business to just life. And then we just connected as people. And right behind him was a VHS tape of Bad Boys that Tiny had given me for my birthday because that's how much I loved the movie.
The first one?
The first one. Like growing up, the posters on my wall were Bad Boys. Like I stole them from the theater. Like the big ass vinyls. I took it late night.
No way.
I was a troublemaker. So I went late night to the theater and literally ripped the freaking vinyl and put it on my wall. I still have that actually. My mom's, I got to get it. Long story short, we connected, and at the end of the meeting, I said, man, like I really want to do the music on the new Bad Boys film. And we're the hottest Latin company. The movie's based in Miami. You got to let me do the music. And he's like, but have you seen the movie? And I said, no. I mean, I've been talking to Sylvia over at Sony, and
this is the new Bad Boys.
Yeah, the new one.
Yeah.
And Spring over at Sony Pictures. I've been talking to the label, and we just haven't been able to link up with it. And he's like, well, look, it's not done. You know, COVID, everything stopped the production, and the strikes stopped the production. But if you're in LA next, I'll have Will show you the film.
Yeah.
So we go to the Grammys with Tiny. He was nominated his first American Grammy as an artist. And I'm like, I hit Miguel. I'm like, hey, I'm in town. It's great. Come by Sony Pictures. I'll have Will show you the film. And I told Tiny, Will's not going to show up, bro.
Yeah.
Like, they're just going to play us the movie. Sure enough, as soon as we get there, Will is there. And I'm like, wow. And he's wearing orange. How fun is that? Right? Like the things you notice. Yeah. So I'm like, I started talking. He's like, yeah, orange is the color of Westbrook, Overbrook, my high school. So I like orange. And that was the name of my old company, whatever. So we started talking, and we're about to go into the theater. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go to the restroom. And he goes to the restroom too. So my first 5 minutes of conversation with Will were like, shh. So
talk about surreal.
Surreal, right? And then he showed us the movie and acted the scenes that were missing. And I was literally texting my father, and I was like, could you believe I'm watching Bad Boys with Will Smith? And he just acted in front of me.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. I've made it.
I've made it. But when we were coming out, I told Will, has anybody done the theme song to Bad Boys? Like, dun, 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 like into a song. And he's like, nah. Like, I'm going to do it. So I got on the phone that night. I called my producers here. I said, I got this idea. Put this. Give it the bounce of Jack Harlow. Let's go with it. And then I sent him the record, and he's like, I like it. When I'm in Miami, I'll cut it. So then he came down to Miami. He cut it. And in that conversation, one thing led to the next. We started talking about music. We started talking about his career, his future. He's like, what's up, man? It's yours if you want it. And I was like, what's mine? He's like, come help me out with this. And I was like, okay. And I thought they were joking around.
Yeah.
So for like 2 weeks, I didn't really hear back. And then one day they called me, and they're like, and it was perfect timing too, because I was sitting with the chairman of the co-chair of the board of directors of my company, who's my lead investor. And we were going over like business things, and they called right when he was there. I was like, perfect timing, because I was like fighting him on the financial issue.
Yeah.
And then it went, and then I was, given the challenge of breaking a brand new artist who also happens to be one of the world's most famous humans. And I think we did a great job. I think we've, it's been an amazing journey with him, and incredible human being. It's taught me so much about life and other things. And so, one of those things of life that you said, life be lifing, but in the most unexpected ways. And but it's taught me a lot about, I used to call God the fourth quarter God. I was like, he's my Tom Brady, right? And I literally used to say that all the time. Like, right when things seem like they're going to go, just get the Hail Mary, we win the Super Bowl. And then I started to realize, maybe I'm just not playing the first three quarters the right way. And God has to save me because he has so much grace and favor. But, and so I started to look at how I was playing the first three quarters of anything I was doing and changing that. And part of that is, kind of the leading purpose of having something like having a relationship with Will and working with him and Miguel and that whole team. It's been a huge learning experience, but it's been amazing.
What would you say and I'm sure there's a lot because you just mentioned it, but what would be the number one thing you've learned from Will? And then also, what do you think he's learned from you?
That's a really good question. So from Will, I think that the same drive that you have for everything that's external, so to work, to kill, to make it in business, to take over the world, the same dedication to put into yourself, into that internal part, into chasing, the deepest part of who you are, to find peace, to find comfort in who you are, to find acceptance in who you are. I think he's never said this, but I really always looked at it because he was my hero growing up, right? I think he was hero for a lot of us. And what I realized is that we all are that superhero. We just forget we are. And so the more that you can remember that the best version of yourself is just the full on 100% original version of yourself, not the one that has to pretend to be someone to his friends or pretend to be educated for business people, the true original, the Lex that's funny, that dances in his pajamas, that sings in the shower, that's the superhero. And that reflection of that to me has been a huge lesson. And I think for me, it's been the freedom, right? Kind of this idea that I just don't sit in boxes very well, right? So I just kind of let things go for what they are, and I let my mind flow and my freedom flow, and I say yes to things, and I kind of just live in that wildness of outside the box, because he's Will Smith, and he's been on like any other major superstar. You're in boxes all the time. So we had an amazing summer last year where we got to experience things, and he had never really, he says this in interviews, so I'll share it, but he had never really experienced a summer because he always had summer movies or he was always filming. It was his first time experiencing a summer in Europe, and it was, we did a lot.
On tour?
No, at that time we were just
hanging out.
We went to do a song camp, and then that turned into another event, another thing, and we just hopped around Europe doing these really cool out of the box things, going to concerts. Okay. We went to go see Coldplay together, and that was super amazing. And so I think that's one thing that I could say that in our relationship has been really great, where there's just that sense of freedom, that sense of disorganization a bit, like we were talking about, in a person whose life is super structured. Mm-hmm. And I'm super structured, but with mess. Yeah. So I would probably say those are the two things we learned.
That's all. And then what would be the place that you went to where you were surprised by how people reacted to Will? You know what I mean? Because he's such a worldwide, but I'm sure there's certain places where he's more celebrated than others, or was it he was celebrated everywhere? Yeah, everywhere. Everywhere, yeah.
I think internationally more than here, I would say.
Okay.
People internationally still feel oh my God, that's Will Smith, a major superstar.
Yeah.
I think here in America, we're we see them all the time. I saw Leo last night at the club or whatever,
Right.
So anywhere outside is still Will. And I'm just surprised. I mean, someone who has been so successful in so many different things over many generations. He speaks to our generation, he speaks to our parents' generation. So it's really interesting, but an incredible human being. Like, honestly, I've been around a lot of famous people my whole life, and I've never met someone who handles it all in the way he does.
And he's had a rough, like, last, I mean, I don't know what it was, 2 or 3 years, but it's, you know, from the outside looking in. So the way he's handled it seems like it's pretty top notch. So
yeah, and his team is top notch. Like, those guys, you know, incredible family, which I think has been nice to see. And
I don't know if, I mean, I'm sure you have, but he dropped like a badass freestyle too the other day. I don't know if you saw that. Like,
yeah.
Everybody was talking about it.
It was all part of the in Lyrical Lemonade. It was all part of the release strategy. And so, you know, he's getting into it, bro. I mean, like, he's in music full on. So,
is there a tour like planning?
Yeah, he starts tour June 27th. Doing all of Europe, and then he's planning to do the U.S., South America next year.
And then will you have any role in that?
Yeah,
okay.
That was part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So planning and getting all done. You know, we were just in Ibiza together for the opening of Universe, which is insane club. But yeah,
it's a new club in Ibiza.
So Jan, who owns like High and all the biggest clubs in Ibiza, he took the old Palladium, which was at one time the biggest club in the world, and he turned it into Universe. And incredible, like on sunrise, like imagine these 3 windows. The DJ's facing this way, and you know they have curtains and they have a see-through screen. So like during the night, it's just like regular, huge visuals, amazing, right? Somewhere around that 7, 8 a.m., they start lifting the curtains from the back and turn off the screen, and you see the full sunrise coming as everybody's in the club.
Oh wow!
It's
pretty sick.
It's pretty sick. You know, I got to give it up to him, and we had a great experience with those guys. Another great guy, Jan, who's built an amazing business while being like such like one of us. You know, like just a great human being. But that's you know, Alex knows the club business is a club business. That thing is no joke.
Yeah. It's a full-time job.
That's how that is.
And like no sleep.
Exactly.
Like I don't see how they do it.
Yeah, no, I can't.
Oscar we had to do some filming for The Water in the Club 11, and the call time was 3:30 a.m. We were like, what? Like it was with DJ Crespo. He's one of our investors, and we were trying to get the right shot, and he was like, yeah, be there at 3:30. We're like, that's when I wake up. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I can't do that anymore, man. I can't, like...
I don't think I ever did. Like, maybe back when I met Alex, like, way back in the day. Yeah. But I've always been an early riser, so staying out late is just not something I've been good at.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah. I think as I get bored, right? Like, there's only so much I could be doing at a club, and all of a sudden it's just like I have that click where I'm like, and then I'm out. Yeah, like it's like a switch.
I don't know about you, but I used to go out with people, and then I was the guy that just kind of disappeared. I didn't say bye to anybody, just disappeared.
I'm the king of that,
and no one ever cares. Like, ever. You never got a text like, "Where are you?" or the next day, like, "Are you okay?" No one said a word,
and people already
because they understood it. They knew that. You just did that. Like
people know, like even at industry events now, people know like, oh, Lex is coming and leaving.
Yeah.
He's not sitting here trying to like do a whole lot of no.
Yeah.
I'm coming in. I did my job and I'm out.
And what's next for Lex?
Honestly, man, I'm in a beautiful state of self-discovery. And it's made me the most excited I've been my entire life and entire career. The challenge of pushing myself towards my fear of just doing things I genuinely love for myself, right? Like for the intention of just having the pleasure of doing something that I actually enjoy. And so, you know, I'm super thrilled about You Versus You. Thank you for coming on that. Like I'm super excited on that podcast. I'm excited about the conversations and the guests and kind of the visual presentation that we put together for that. I'm excited about 0 to 60, which is where my channel where I speak about watches, and I've like full on gone in this. Right?
Is that like, YouTube?
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Amazing.
Like I'm full on this. Like I have a blast every time we shoot and we get to talk about watches and we critique them and we, you know. So I'm really excited about that as well. And you know, I'm like slowly gearing towards retirement from the entertainment business and like focusing on other things. And so I'm excited for that. I'm excited for what life will look like when it's not driven by running a machine all day and,
right.
40 employees here and 60 clients over here. So I'm really thrilled about that. And honestly, I'm enjoying being a father. Like, I didn't think I was going to enjoy it this much, but I genuinely love it.
It's the greatest joy ever.
I love it. My daughter fell asleep yesterday hugging me. And it was the first time she's falling asleep in my arms. But this was like we were in the bed and she happened to turn around and just wanted to genuinely just put her arms and hug me.
Yeah.
You can imagine me last night. I was like this.
Yeah. You don't want to move.
I was like so happy. So
it's the
happy.
best when they fall asleep.
Yeah, no.
My daughter fell asleep on my lap with her head just like, right here. And you're just like,
the best.
And I had to pee so bad. And I was just sitting there just like, I'm not ruining this moment.
Yeah.
But I tell people, and we talked about this on your podcast, like kids are what we should strive to be. And it's like, it's sad that that's kind of stripped from us for 20 something years. And then it does seem like when you do find yourself, then you realize that authentic childlike behavior is who you're supposed to be.
Yep.
It's like, I love what you said earlier, just that the absolute core of who you are.
Yeah.
Like, if you can be that person, then most of the time you're going to be attracted to the right people. But when you're not, then oftentimes you find yourself around the wrong people.
Yeah. I think that's success, right? Like when somebody asks me in whatever place I'm speaking at about success, I always say there's two keys. One is acceptance. And it starts there. Like, work on that first. Work on just accepting 110% who you are, 110% your circumstance, 110% your situation. Like, accept it so you could understand where you're sitting and where you're standing and the level of the game at Mario Bros that you're playing. Like, once you understand and you're fully in awareness of that, then you can put into motion everything else that we teach about success, clear vision and process and networking and perseverance but like it starts with that, because the thing is, while having a clear vision, while persevering, while journaling, while working hard, while doing all these other things, while building relationships will get you external success, you'll end up empty in the inside because you're still searching for this. And so you'll always have the one-sided level of success, which is that it looks really pretty to everybody else. It looks amazing. You are building things, but you're in this despair of emotion all the time and this turmoil all the time. And you're still trying to figure out why. And so what I've realized in my own experience is the more that I am accepting, the more everything else, success or failure of things, just feels better. It's like, okay, that didn't go as planned. What was my lesson? Because it's not because I'm not good enough, or it's not because I'm not like you settle into that. Then when you have success, you're enjoying it, not pretending to be like, I gotta be all dressed. No, you're enjoying it as the kid is when you take your daughter to a playground and she's like, "Yippee!" like Rugrats.
Yeah.
I'm going off. Like, you have it like that because you are in complete like presence of who you are. So you can enjoy it. You can laugh. You could be corny. Like, you could, throw your jokes. You could be whoever you wanted to be without having to pretend to be someone in order to fit into the success that you built for yourself, which happens to all of us. It happened to me where it's like you become Lex. And so now I'm expected to be a certain way. I'm expected for my social media and my videos and the composure of how I handle myself. And it's like, if you really know me, I'm a kid. I get excited. I collect cars and I get super excited about the car and I look at the wheels and I'm like, I'm so excited. I get like so thrilled to open packages. Like, my assistants make fun of me because they're like, dude, I've never seen somebody so excited to open a package. But it's like, because I like that feeling of feeling kids. I wake up in the morning and I sing in the shower and I make up songs. You know, I just like be making songs for around. That's just the truest version of who I am. And as I've gotten more close to that, everything else feels better. My spirituality feels better. My relationship with people feels better. The way that I approach success, the enjoyment of the things success has brought me, the enjoyment of my home, the enjoyment of my cars, the enjoyment of my watches, the enjoyment of whatever just feels more fulfilled. So I would say like accepting of who you are and the circumstances you're in is the first most crucial step to building real success. And then the rest, it's all the things we talked about. This didn't get built by just dreaming. You worked hard, you did all, you persevered, you had vision, you had clarity, you know, you had great partnerships. All those are still needed. But without this, it's just a building. Because you'll sit here and be like, damn, now what?
Yeah. Well, I think too, it's that combination though of acceptance and awareness.
Yeah.
You know, you said it really well there amongst all that you said, but there was a moment there, you connected the acceptance and the awareness, because I think sometimes people accept themselves as they are without awareness that they need to expand who they are, like, or grow or whatever, or change certain things and not change the core, not your personality, not the fact that you wake up and want to sing in the shower, but maybe you're, you know, not disciplined or not, you know, doing things that are actually good for you. So I think that's really like, it's the combination of those two that can take you far.
Yeah, no. And I think it's the more you accept yourself and the circumstances, you also, you get clarity on that awareness as well, because you start seeing the boxes that you're stuck in. You start seeing the fears and the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Like I think that's the version you gotta get. You gotta love the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we all have it.
Yeah,
we all have amazing things that people love, and we also have like this little demons.
Yeah,
and then we also have the fear, and we have the things, and those are just part of humanity. But in tuning with that gives you at least a pathway on where you got to put in the work, right? Like where that awareness has to come into fruition to say, okay, well, maybe I am lazy, or maybe I'm not lazy at all. I'm just afraid to take a risk, and so like, okay, so I got to work on taking more risk or whatever it is.
As we wrap up, I typically end with this thing, which kind of like, probably you just answered it, but it's a question I ask people. So it's, if you had one thing that you wish people knew about you but they don't, what would that be?
I'm genuinely a child at heart. The reflection of that energy is the truest form of who I am. So I genuinely like childlike things. Like I like collecting cars, and I like laughing, and I don't know. Like those things make me are more exciting to me, I would say, that even like going to an award show or a concert. Like
that's why you're gonna be an amazing dad, you know.
Yeah. I'm loving that. I'm loving playing that with her, and she loves cars like me.
Oh man,
so like
that's awesome.
I like, you know, I do the whole thing and crash, which I used to do as a kid. Yeah, that was my first like memory of envisioning something, was that I would really make this whole world with my cars, because my dad, my grandmother worked at Matchbox, the car company, and so my dad collected Matchbox cars his whole life. So we have a collection of like, I don't know, 5,000 little cars. Oh wow! But I would take them out and like, it'll be like the war, and be like, you know, I'll do all that, and that memory of that is something I'm sharing with my daughter now, and it's amazing. And my wife shares that with us. So she's very childlike in that way. So she'll like, you know, she'll build the tent, and we'll all go under the tent and stuff, you know, but it's a great experience.
That's the best one.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, bro. I appreciate you
for having me. No, listen, I love this.
No, you're the best.
We got to do it more often.
Well, I know we could talk for forever, so.
Yeah.